Well, it's wonderful to see all of you here this day, this first day of kind of little hint of winter in the air. But it's my privilege to spend a few minutes discussing with you, sharing with you, reviewing with you, if you will, kind of what's been happening in the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City. These have been very eventful times for us in so many ways, eventful times for the Church. So it's a good opportunity to maybe stop and take stock a bit. Starting with the obvious, I know many of you this past Sunday were present at the site of the future shrine of Blessed Stanley Rother for a groundbreaking experience, groundbreaking celebration, ceremony, marking a very significant moment of progress for us in a plan that has been afoot for many years. How many of you were able to be at the groundbreaking this last Sunday? Wonderful. It was the Lord gave us such a beautiful day, especially if imagining that what it could have been like if it were like this today. But we had, the Oklahoman estimated, about 2,000 people. So it was a good turnout and a wonderfully festive spirit and environment, people coming together to witness this historic beginning. So this groundbreaking obviously didn't just happen. It was a result of much planning and preparation. Little over 2 years ago in September 2017, on September 23rd, 2017, we celebrated here in downtown Oklahoma City at the Cox Convention Center the beatification of Blessed Stanley Rother. And I know many of you were there for that. There were about 20,000 of our friends and neighbors present for the beatification ceremony. A memorable experience for all of us, and certainly for me. One of the things that came with the beatification of Blessed Stanley Rother was the need to continue to promote devotion to Blessed Stanley, to get his story out there, to make him known, to be good stewards of this gift that the Lord had given to the Church in Oklahoma by having America's very first martyr, very first parish priest ever beatified right here from our midst, from Okarche, Oklahoma. So one of the things that we need to do in that process is to continue to promote his cause, because it doesn't end with beatification, it will end with canonization. So the next event that we will be focusing on is his ultimate canonization. We need to be praying for his intercession to bring the favors that we would like to ask the Lord to grant to us, to grant them through the intercession of Blessed Stanley Rother. All that stands between where we are today and where we hope to be with his canonization, when we can honor him as Saint Stanley Rother, is a miracle. All it takes is a miracle. Simple enough, right? It will take a miracle. Literally, it will take a miracle. And so I want to enlist your help in praying for that miracle. Normally it will be a medical miracle of some sort, a medical healing of some sort. Knock and the door will be open to you. Seek and you will find. Ask and it will be given to you. But if we're not asking, how can we expect the Lord to grant what we seek? So please be praying with me for that special miracle that perhaps someone you know or someone in your family or you yourself personally might stand in need of. So with the beatification, we needed a place of veneration to continue to promote the cult of Blessed Stanley Rother, to invite people to come, to pray, to seek his intercession, to learn his story. And so we needed to build a shrine. Several years before the beatification, we'd already begun looking for a place where we could expand our presence in the south part of Oklahoma City to minister to a burgeoning, growing Catholic population among our Hispanic Catholics. Most of the churches in the Oklahoma City metro area that serve Spanish-speaking Catholics are overflowing. They're bursting at the seams. So we had been looking for a place to build a large church to accommodate the spiritual and pastoral needs of our Hispanic Catholics. And we had already located this site, the Brookside Golf Course on the south side of Oklahoma City, that was on the market, and we thought that would be an ideal location. But it was going to be a hard push and a great stretch to raise the funds for the large church that we needed without something extra happening, intervening. And that something extra turned out to be, providentially, the beatification of Blessed Stanley Rother. Making that Brookside Golf Course, that site of a potential new large Catholic church on the south side of Oklahoma City, also the shrine of Blessed Stanley Rother, seemed to capture the imagination of many of our people. And so that's how we proceeded in planning for the shrine. And that's what we broke ground on just a few days ago. The Shrine Church will be the largest Catholic church in the state of Oklahoma. It will seat 2,000 people. It will be the site of large diocesan events moving forward, because our own beautiful cathedral is much smaller, seats only 600 to 700 people. But this will be a place where the rite of election, where large ordinations will take place. It will not replace the cathedral, but it will serve as a large diocesan gathering place. It will be a place which will have a welcome center, pilgrim center, a museum to tell the story of Blessed Stanley Rother. It'll have an event space. It will have an educational building. It's a large 53-acre site. It will be filled ultimately with beautiful devotional spaces, including a Tepeyac Hill, a great lawn for family events, and all kinds of other happenings that will be taking place there. It will be truly a multi-purpose facility for all people. It will also be a place of worship for many of our Hispanic Catholics, but it will be a place for all Catholics. So we're very excited to get that project underway finally. Construction we expect to take a little over 2 years, and so we would hope, God willing, that maybe on the feast day of Blessed Stanley Rother, which is July 28th, in the year 2022, we might be prepared to celebrate the dedication of that new shrine church to Blessed Stanley Rother. So keep that in your prayers. Many of you I know have been following the progress of that. Many of you are deeply involved with that because of your participation in the One Church, Many Disciples campaign, of which the Rother Shrine is one of the signature pieces. So these are good things that are happening right here in our midst, undoubtedly. God is blessing this local church in tremendous ways. It's a growing church. It's a church that is building. And that's an exciting thing for our Catholic community. It's a wonderful reminder of the beauty of our Catholic faith that is so attractive still to so many people, even after having passed through such a difficult time in the history of our local church, in the history of our church in the United States and around the world, dealing with a crisis, sexual abuse of global proportions, which, as we all know, painfully, has cast its shadow even here over the church in Oklahoma. It was just a month to the day before the groundbreaking that report was issued on an investigation, independent investigation conducted about what has happened and transpired here in our Archdiocese in terms of clergy abuse. And so for several days, we were front and center in the headlines, not for positive things, but for very painful things for all of us to read. We decided that it was necessary for us to become transparent, to tell the facts of what we were able to identify, and to use this as an opportunity to invite all of us to repentance and to continue to reach out to strengthen our commitment to protecting young people, to protecting vulnerable people, to do better going forward. And so that's what we are committed to doing. to be transparent. We have in the process of strengthening our training for all people who work with youth. New processes are being put in place, a case management system to monitor and follow reported cases of abuse, turning over all older allegations of abuse to law enforcement. All of these things are evidence and signs of our commitment to put this bitter part of our history in the past, to move forward. This investigation that we initiated and that we published was an extraordinary thing, certainly among the most transparent of any diocese that has issued such a report anywhere in the country. And we even received kudos from a very unexpected source, and that is the Survivors Network of Those Abused by Priests, an organization called SNAP, which has never had anything good to say about any archdiocese, diocese, or bishop, priest, and yet they had to acknowledge that this was an exceptionally honest report, and so we're glad for that. As painful as it was, we did it because we know that the victims need to be acknowledged. They need to know that we have heard them, and they need to hear that we are committed to doing better in the future. 3 days after the report was issued, that Thursday, October 3rd, Sunday morning, I received an email. And it was from a man in Bangkok, Thailand. And I didn't know who he was, but he began by saying, Your Excellency, I want to thank you for allowing the independent report that you have ordered to be published. He said, I am the young man on page 20 and 21 of that report. He had been abused in 1966, 67, and when the Catholic Pastoral Center at the time was St. Francis de Sales Seminary, a high school seminary, and this young man was a seminarian there. There was a priest who was here only in the diocese for a year to 2 years. He was from New York, someplace in New York, but he was here ministering temporarily, and during the course of that time, he had been abused. It was reported, we responded to it, Bishop Reed did at the time, and the priest left the diocese, but anyway, this young man read about himself. I mean, he wasn't named, obviously, in the report, but in reading the report, he was able to see, that's me. You know, I'm being acknowledged. My painful experience is being acknowledged. He's been away from the church for 50 years, but he's an educator. He's taught all over the world, and now he's retired in Bangkok, Thailand. He's 70 years old, but he wanted to thank us for allowing him to be acknowledged. And he said that acknowledgement was a significant step in what he hopes will be an eventual return to the church of his early childhood years. I'm not sure that he's there yet, but he's indicated that he's on a journey. So that, in a certain sense, makes all of this worthwhile. It reminds us of why we allowed ourselves to become so vulnerable through such a report. So we continue to pray. We continue to commit ourselves to building the kind of church that a young man like this, now an old man, would be able to return to, and to focus ourselves on that mission of reconciliation and healing and evangelization, sharing the good news, being the good news for everyone. So that is something that's part of our history. That's part of the landscape that I obviously need to acknowledge today, because it's not all good news, but we can find grace even in such pain and suffering. We can find redemption. So one of the best examples of our the fact that people are responding to the invitation to enter into relationship with the Lord and with His church and their commitment, their love for the church, even in such difficult times as this, has been our recently remarkably successful capital campaign, One Church, Many Disciples, which we completed it last May, at the end of May, and was the first ever diocesan capital campaign in the Archdiocese of Oklahoma City. An extraordinary undertaking that I know certainly among our priests and clergy there was a lot of hesitance, a lot of doubters that the goals which seemed so ambitious at the time when we proposed after a feasibility study that we were going to try to raise $55 million to build this shrine to Blessed Stanley Rother, to support parish ministries, to enhance diocesan ministries, establishing endowments, and do all of the things that we wanted to do. They say, well, those are all worthy goals, but $55 million, that sounds like a pipe dream. And maybe it did to me too. But as we know, as it turned out, to date we have raised $91 million. So that's truly extraordinary. But the dollars are obviously a very important part, but what are those dollars to be used for? And what do those dollars mean? Obviously it means that people still have a great love and attachment to the church, to their Catholic church, to their parishes, to their local parish community. These contributions, these pledges, these commitments will certainly bolster our evangelization efforts around the Archdiocese. They are going to enable us to do many wonderful things as we move forward, including strengthening faith formation for youth, young adults, campus ministries for adults, strengthening our vocation ministry and outreach, youth work, helping our priests to retire with dignity. One of the most exciting things are the numerous parish projects. You know, part of the formula for this campaign was that every parish had a goal to strive to achieve, and every dollar that they raised toward the diocesan goal, they would keep 20 cents on the dollar. Up to goal, and after that they would retain 50 cents on the dollar. So that was great motivation, and certainly helped our pastors and local parish leaders to really commit to reaching their goals, and they have done some extraordinary things. One of the most exciting partnerships in terms of a diocesan parish partnership in the campaign was alluded to already, and that is the beautiful work that's been done, drawing to completion now at Our Lady's Cathedral. Father John Metzinger has guided and overseen a beautiful project of renewal of Our Lady's Cathedral. It was a joint project between the Archdiocese, the funds coming from One Church, Many Disciples, and the parish of Our Lady's stepping up and reaching their portion of that goal as well. And so, as Peter mentioned, on December 16th, a week from this Saturday, Our Lady's will be rededicated. The new altar will be consecrated. And I can assure you that when you see Our Lady's Cathedral, this is not your father's Oldsmobile or your grandfather. It's kind of eye-popping how it is turning out. It's extraordinarily beautiful and colorful. New altar, new cathedra, new ambo, new lighting, sound systems, and the decoration is extraordinarily beautiful. There's a triumphal arch over the altar, the entrance to the sanctuary, an architectural piece, but it's been decorated. You know, in Our Lady's, they had the beautiful medallion of Our Lady of Guadalupe in the center. Well, now there's a whole array of saints on either side, saints and founders and religious communities, everyone from St. Andrew Dunlach to St. Benedict, Alaska, St. Kateri, Bishop Meerschaert in one corner, Blessed Stanley Rother in the other corner. It's telling the story, really, of the church in Oklahoma with significant architectural features in the background, including our state capitol and various other things. So I really, really encourage you to find an opportunity, to seek an opportunity to visit Our Lady's Cathedral in the near future, maybe for the lessons and carols that Peter alluded to this Advent. So it's a beautiful evidence of the kind of renewal that is taking place here within our own Archdiocese. There have been a number of other significant building projects, some of which have been funded directly by One Church, Many Disciples, but others independently of that. Brand new church recently dedicated in Madill, Oklahoma, Father Obi Zummas, the Holy Cross Church. Beautiful new church in that small community right along the shores of Lake Texoma. St. Thomas More in Norman, the University Parish, is about to dedicate a new church there in that community. Again, a beautiful new church. St. Francis of Assisi Parish here in Oklahoma City, while retaining their beautiful historic church there, have virtually rebuilt the campus there. So a lot of wonderful things happening. Holy Spirit in Mustang is soon to be dedicating their new parish church. St. John Nepomuk using funds from One Church, Many Disciples to build a storm shelter and a classroom building. So a lot of things like this are taking place and happening all around us and across our Archdiocese. The Catholic Pastoral Center, for those of you who have visited in the last couple of years, has undergone a complete renewal, remodeling of that old building built in the early 1960s as a high school seminary. It's now looks very different than it did even 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We've had other very exciting things happening in the Archdiocese. Mount St. Mary's completed, high school completed recently, a wonderful capital campaign effort, building a new commons and new dining facilities for the students. A beautiful transformation, facelift for that historic, beautiful institution. Of course, we have a new high school in town, Cristo Rey Catholic High School, serving students whose families are economically challenged to a certain level, such a level that they would not normally be able to afford tuition for one of our Catholic high schools. Cristo Rey is in its second year of operation and is doing very well. In fact, they're bursting at the seams. They're already filling up. So we're needing to strategize as to how to make more room for more students at Cristo Rey. Some people were worried when we opened Cristo Rey that it's going to have a negative impact on Bishop McGuinness and Mount St. Mary's, but quite the opposite has happened. The Mount is at historic levels of enrollment. Bishop McGuinness is doing very well. And of course, Bishop McGuinness has been in a process of renewing itself for many years, but many exciting new projects underway at Bishop McGuinness as well. I believe a new baseball field and girls sports complex opened in the last year to 2 years. Just tremendously exciting things happening around our Archdiocese, for which we can all be proud. There have been a number of new ministries developed in recent years as well. Well, certainly this, the Association of Catholic Professionals, drawing together in order to network with Catholic men and women from around the metro area to give each of you and all of us an opportunity to become better acquainted, to support one another, and incorporating our faith into the way we live our professional lives. Just recently, we had the investiture for the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre of Jerusalem 2 weeks ago in Albuquerque. A number of our members that are here participated in that. We invested a number of new members, but a brand new order that is just underway, the Order of Malta, which Peter and Governor Keating have been instrumental in introducing to our Archdiocese. Like the Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre, an ancient order of the Catholic Church of pontifical right. The Equestrian Order of the Holy Sepulchre has a mission to support Christians in the Holy Land. The Order of Malta has a special mission and outreach to the sick. But both have their origins in historical circumstances around the Middle Ages. Father Bittner, our vocation director, recently returned from a tour of about 9 different religious communities of women, trying to identify and attract new religious communities of women to come to our Archdiocese, to establish a presence here, especially in our Catholic schools. So these are some of the things that are underway that I would certainly love to see. We once had religious women in all of our schools. So the religious women are the ones that established our Catholic schools, beginning it. Certainly at the Mount and other places, the Benedictine sisters in Guthrie and elsewhere, but they're virtually all gone. So it's time to reestablish that dynamic presence of religious women to form our young people, to be an inspiration to young women whom the Lord might be calling to consecrated life. We have plenty of seminarians, thanks be to God, who can be role models for our young men, but it's hard to find comparable role models for young women locally. So we're working hard on that. That's part of the vision. That's part of the effort moving forward. Perhaps it has already been alluded to, but we recently have reorganized our Archdiocesan Curia, the Archdiocesan staff, the way we do business, into secretariats, and there have been a number of new positions created and filled rather, including for the first time in maybe ever, we have a full-time Respect Life office. It's actually a beautiful thing. It's a shared position between a husband and a wife. They're doing Respect Life work, Nicole and David McHugh, focusing on life issues. We have the Rother Institute, of course, which is alluded to. A lot's happening around the new evangelization to go make disciples. So this is what we have been about. In January, at the culmination of a long process of listening and discernment, I published a second pastoral letter called Go Make Disciples, Building a Culture of Conversion and Discipleship. That has been out now since January, but that has served as the basis for a pastoral planning process that will be celebrated on December 7th, when we have our first ever Archdiocesan Convocation. It will be called Vision 2030, the pastoral plan. And so I want to take this opportunity to personally invite each and every one of you to try to be with us as we gather at the Cox Convention Center in a few weeks' time to launch this pastoral plan, to celebrate this pastoral plan, to celebrate what God has been doing in our Archdiocese, but to really cast this vision and to see where we're going. We're inviting all of our parish, people from every parish of the Archdiocese to come together to celebrate our Catholic faith. It'll be a wonderful day. We'll hear more about it in just a minute. But I just would like that to be on your calendars, December 7th, a Saturday, the Cox Convention Center. It'll begin at 8:45 in the morning. It'll conclude at 5 o'clock Mass on that day. So I wanted to leave a little bit of time for Q&A, questions, comments, but I know we do have a very, very brief promotional video that we'd like to show, do we not? So who's queuing that up? Okay, here we go. Lisa is.